The Chaser Report is recorded on Gadigal land.
Striving for mediocrity in a world of excellence. This is the Chaser Report.
Hello and welcome to the Chaser Report. It's Dom Knight and live from Adelaide,
Charles Fur.
coming to you half an hour behind. I'm amazed we're able to do it together given you're so far behind, Charles.
Well, you know that my 12-year-old all week has been ringing up and telling me what's going to happen in half an hour's time.
What a chip off the old block.
I know.
It's such a you thing.
And I said to him, you know that it's not how it works. And he said, yeah, it's a joke, Dad.
That's always
the
the best kind of joke is when we've got to clarify that that's what it was afterwards. We'll mention during today's podcast when we were joking just to make it jump out at you. Can we get into some admin first, Charles? Because I've got to freak out about this impending conflict with China. I've only got about 5 minutes for admin before I start genuinely freaking out. I've been reading the Sydney Morning Herald.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, dear. Yes.
And the sub plan is finally becoming clear, and it's all about Adelaide. So we'll get to that in a sec. Right after this. Now, that ad you can pay to skip. You can join the deluxe program. It's supposed to be $4 a month, Charles, but there have been a few admin issues. And if you subscribe through AUKUS Plus, it's still at the higher price. We are working on that. They're having to reprogram some database or something. I don't know what it is. So it's still at $79.
So our message to you is get in on the higher price while you can, because
get in
it's
on
not
the
going to
high
last
price.
Long. Yeah.
Yep, it's going to get cheaper.
So
it'll be $4,
don't subscribe.
which is what it is now. It is that now on Apple
Yeah.
Podcasts.
Yeah.
And I can see numbers have actually dropped. People have been unsubscribing from AUKUS Plus, probably in irritation at the price not going down. So it's going excellently, this part of the business. But the other good news, Charles,
Yes.
and I don't know if you're across this very exciting development in the history of the Chaser podcast, but we now have an absurdly overpriced option, which is only available from AUKUS Plus.
Oh, fantastic!
So if you're
well, is that $2.99 a month? Because that seems a bit.
It's
absurd
$20 a
to
month.
me.
And in return for $20
What
a
the
month,
fuck?
you get early access to the show. So as soon as they're recorded and uploaded,
What?
you can listen to them straight away on your private feed that you get as part of the AUKUS Plus. So they're really hot off the press. As soon as our
that's
trusty producer Lachlan uploads them, you can get them. Is that worth $20 a month? Definitely not. So I can't wait to see if anyone subscribes.
unless you're a defamation lawyer and you want to jump on. You know,
You could,
early
early access to the defamation. The theory is that if you are very rich, you probably believe in trickle-down economics. So trickle some money down to us. That's what we're saying.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Trickle
it's
it
the
down.
boomer option. It's people who
It is.
don't have to
It
pay
is.
rent in Sydney option.
We should also make it the sort of option for older listeners who don't really understand what's going on.
We make it
let's call it the Telstra
the
option.
compulsory option for over 65s. You have to do this.
That's right. So no one, I think, has yet subscribed to the absurdly overpriced subscription. Go to chaser.com.au
Do you think maybe
podcast.
you should
Just even do it for 1 month just to prove you can.
Have you never heard of marketing, Dom? Like, it should be called something like the Super Supreme Gold Edition or something. You know, like, you don't call it overpriced.
Oh, we should call it the value. We should call it the value
Yes,
subscription, shouldn't we?
Yes, because sarcasm.
The best
A,
deal.
sarcasm, but also if you ever have to justify to your partner, why is this $20 per month charge on our credit card? If you say, that's the absurdly overpriced option, then no one's going to, it's got to be like the
But
value
Charles, I
option.
photoshopped. I put pictures of coins. There are gold coins
Okay.
in the graphics for it. I figured people would like to feel it's like being
Now-
part of a VIP club or in a private room at a nightclub,
I
except
feel like
it's nothing like
we
that.
should talk about China because by now, according to the Fairfax papers, the 9 papers, we're at war by now, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was going to be 72 hours, I think they said. And it's been 72 hours since they published a whole series of articles about the impending war with China and how we have to strap up and get ready. And I got to say, Charles, what an amazing way to provoke a war with China, to write all these saber-rattling articles.
Okay, so I have a theory about this, right? Because Joe Dyer did a bit of digging around. She's the former head of Adelaide Riders Week and also host of the Shop podcast. She did a bit of digging around and she found that, so the Herald put together, in The Age, put together a panel of experts, right? And every single one of those experts had, IPA funding behind them or various other think tanks like the Australian Centre for Strategic studies or something. All of those think tanks, in turn, were funded by arms manufacturers, right? Like Raytheon and British Aerospace and Boeing, right?
Well, of course.
So
they want us to be safe.
Literally very good marketing because they're sort of going, fuck, this whole AUKUS deal may fall through. We may not go to war with China. What do? I know, we just declare war on China in the Herald. I know, we'll just funnel some money to some absolute dipshits at 9 newspapers, get them to run it on the front page, and we're back in business, baby.
Yeah, and I mean, you can guarantee that of all of the strategic issues that people in Beijing were worried about, all the experts sitting there from the Red Army, the one thing they were not pondering is Australia being stupid enough to provoke a war through sabre rattling. A country of 25 million with clearly crap technology going, let's take on China. That'll work. Like, they wouldn't have even been pondering this until the Herald said, within 3 years, if there's war within 3 years, we're not ready.
Yes.
Charles, I wouldn't assume we would ever be ready. How is it possible to be ready for
a war with someone
against a country with 1 billion people?
Exactly. You know what I think we should do?
What?
I think we should suck up to China. I, for one, welcome our new overlords.
Well, I mean, Kevin Rudd came out and...
I'm doing the Sam Destiari.
Oh, very good. Well, I mean, that's the thing. If you're going to get paid by somebody, would you rather get paid by arms manufacturers or by the Chinese government? In many respects, I mean, you've got to choose one of the two.
China has better deals on, cheap merch.
That's true. That's definitely the manufacturing base for your crap merchandise. I mean, your inflatable avocados are not being made by US defense contractors.
But, see, our inflated avocados, frankly, did not sell very well. Maybe we need to pivot the Chaser in favour of manufacturing arms.
Well, maybe the avocado flotilla could be used because we don't have anything to defend us at the moment. Yes. This is part of the point.
Defense. I mean, besides that massive moat that goes all the way around our entire country, that's making a land attack virtually impossible. Besides that, we are completely undefended.
Except that China could presumably, given the ease with which factories in China supplied your order for massive inflatable avocados, they presumably got a bridge of inflatables from the nearest Chinese base that they could just deploy. But Kevin Rudd entered this debate, who's going to be quite an important person going forward, strangely enough, as the Australian ambassador to the US. And he's worried that we'll go to war by accident.
Yes. I hate that.
Basically, it'll be idiocy that brings Australia and the US into a conflict. And Charles, what better form of idiocy than getting all these people who are in the pay of defence manufacturers to write sabre-rattling articles in the Sydney Morning Herald?
Yeah, but do you think? I mean, I don't know. Do you think? I don't know who the defence minister, whoever the Chinese equivalent of that is. Do you think they sit back over coffee on the or tea or whatever? In the morning and read the Herald? I kind of suspect they don't. I kind of suspect they don't go, Peter Harcher, I wonder what he's got to say about
I can't
global
start
affairs.
work without knowing what Peter Harcher thinks. And Charles, the thing is, when I sat down and read the first article in that series, I knew I was going to get something very balanced and very reasonable and not at all alarmist by the fact that they called their security review Red Alert. Those words just made me think, well, this hasn't got any sort of an agenda going on.
I'll tell you what has happened. I think what has happened is there's been a production error at the Herald and they've accidentally photocopied some 1950s style red alert propaganda from the early 1950s, back when that was last the problem. And it's accidentally slipped onto the front page. That's, I think, what has happened. Don't you think? Like that is a more plausible. Sensible because I mean, or maybe Peter Hart has just gone a bit lazy, or no, maybe the AI that they use to pretend that Peter Hart still works there. Their Peter Harcher AI has ingested too much red baiting stuff from the 1950s, and it's just making it up. Because I don't believe. I mean, I read occasionally stuff in the Herald and the Age, and you go, this has to all be AI by now. It's so banal. It's so just like every word. You know how AI works, where it just guesses what the next word should be.
Yeah,
and it sort of gives you an 80% sort of certainty on that. I reckon, like that's the entire Herald. It's sort of like you just know where it's going the whole time.
Do you think an AI would do a better job though than Peter Hutcher? I mean,
I know,
the reader response. They published letters from the readers, almost universally condemning this entire Red Alert series. And my favourite article that they published a couple of weeks ago was, "Report warns China surging ahead of Western nations in vital technologies." Gee, do you think?
But yeah, okay. So
we've already lost. We've already lost.
We've already lost.
Yeah, because of TikTok.
Oh yes, that's right. So does that mean
game over?
Like? Because my 14-year-old loves TikTok. Do you think that one day he'll be like a bit like the Manchurian Candidate, and they'll activate him, and he'll come in,
concept of which is so massively racist? Yeah,
and
absolutely.
murder us.
There'll be a sleeping army of TikTok. But why would they bother? They've already got 1 billion.
And it'll be called let's do the Invade Australia challenge.
It'll be a dance. It'll be a special invading dance that will go viral.
Yeah.
The Chaser Report. News you know you can't trust.
Okay, well, Charles, you asked what we're going to do. The good news is that we have a plan. Albo and Jim Chalmers, they've been putting together a big old plan. And it's AUKUS, or AUKUS, as I like pronouncing it.
Yes.
And so what we're going to do, it's a brilliant strategy. And the thing I like about it is that we've learned from mistakes of the past, Charles. We don't want to make the same errors as before.
No.
So what we're doing is we're probably buying Virginia-class submarines from the US. We're getting old ones.
Yes.
And they've promised us that there won't be any like clankers. There'll be ones that work. But then, having adapted to these American ones and gotten used to them and figured it all out,
yes,
we're going to stop using those ones and buy a new British design
what?
that doesn't yet exist.
What?
We're buying a new British design. And you know where they're going to be made, Charles? I thought these things were going to be made offshore.
No.
They were going to be made by people who know how to make them and already make them. I thought that was the whole point of this deal. No. We're going to make them in Adelaide.
Oh, really? Oh.
In Adelaide.
I thought it was Port Kembla in New South Wales.
Port Kembla might be the base.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
But the manufacturing, for some reason, it's Adelaide.
So if you...
It always comes down to jobs in Adelaide, just like last time.
If you're, a person who's an expert in making submarines and you've just been sacked because they've got rid of all the Australian submarines, just hang on for another, 10, 15 years.
Couple of decades, yeah.
And you'll have your job back. So
the good
perfect
news is,
solution.
Charles, that we looked around all the available options, all the designs that were out there.
Yes.
And we chose an untested British design.
What?
Because if there's one country you go to for high-tech manufacturing with absolute reliability, it's Britain.
But do you think maybe, can I just pose to you a counterfactual, like a sort of idea about what might actually be going on, which is, so defence projects always run late, right? And over budget, right? Like that's the nature of these things because, the only people who get involved are people who are scammers who...
Oh, they're always very late and overblown,
So by announcing that you're purchasing something that doesn't even exist yet, you're sort of basically banking on the fact that it will never exist and you'll never have to spend the money. This is just genius passive aggression by the Australian government.
Genius.
Yes. And because you get the jobs announcement as well. And they probably said, can we make them here? And the British probably said, no way. And the Australians said, well, can we just say that we're going to manufacture it here, seeing the whole thing's never going to happen anyway? And they went, yeah, sure. Actually, that works really well for everyone.
That's genius, Charles. So if you're not going to build subs, if there's no chance you're going to build subs, make sure that you don't build them in Adelaide to get votes from South Australia.
So wait a minute. How much are the subs that don't exist yet going to cost? Do we know?
I don't think we know the cost yet.
Of course we
because
don't. But
they haven't got the design.
Because
you can't possibly put a price on them because they haven't worked out what the design is yet.
Oh, this is genius.
How good is it?
So this is Scott Morrison level genius, I reckon.
But no, but it's not, because we've actually got the Virginia-class submarines actually exist, and we will actually have them
see,
quite
that's
soon.
where they went wrong. Now there's something solid to attach. And do the Virginia-class work?
Well, yeah, they do, and this is the thing that's so amazing about them.
Can they turn left?
I believe that they can.
Yeah,
because they're actually a genuinely effective US product. But Charles, you know the most amazing thing about these submarines? I mean, I'm very anti-nuclear. I've always thought Australia should never have anything nuclear. But then I learned that they come with a lifetime supply of nuclear fuel. That once you have the power plant in there, you never have to add anything else. There's never any servicing, whatever. There might be servicing, but you don't never have to put more fuel in it, which makes me think, shouldn't we get this for our cars?
That's right. Yeah, because I reckon, having lots of people driving around with nuclear power plants in their boot is a great idea, Dom. I think that sounds like a genius. But wait a minute. So they're like a nuclear battery almost, right?
Yeah.
But then at the end of their life, what happens to all the nuclear waste?
You just,
So they just
I don't know,
just dump it in the
50,000
sea
years or something.
Yeah. Oh, and also, anyway, it doesn't matter. It'll be at Port Kembla. And I mean,
it'll be at Port Kembla. That's right.
Yeah.
So it's called the next generation astute class is what we're going to get
from the UK.
You're so right. I'm looking at the details.
So,
here. Of course, from the Sydney. So the British ones. Just listen to the timing of this.
Yeah.
Expected to begin construction in the 2030s.
Yes.
And expected to enter service in the 2040s. This is never going to exist.
Well, it's for China War. It's for China War 2, isn't it? Because we'll be at war in 3 years. We'll use the Virginia class one.
The
for
Herald
that
told
one.
us, yeah.
And then this new one. And the great thing is, hopefully we can pay for them in British pounds, which by then will be worth less than the Venezuelan peso. So it'll be
brilliant.
like, 100 trillion British pounds, please. And there'll be like $1 Australian by then. And we'll get the nuclear subs really cheaply.
Look, people have
There you
said
go.
for years that Labor are crap at defence.
Yeah.
This is absolutely genius. See, other governments in the past would have committed to the hypothetical submarines, as indeed the Turnbull government and the Morrison government did. They would have only gone for the hypothetical ones, whereas we're going to get even more hypothetical ones. But we'll get some in the meantime that actually work.
Yeah. Look, I think this really it bodes well. I'm actually thinking of pivoting my career and becoming a submariner.
A submariner?
As a result of this Virginia class thing. I think
You should.
Yeah. Take it out.
You know, they can spend 3 months underwater.
They're the really
submarines.
quiet ones, aren't they?
Yeah, no one knows that they're there. Whereas apparently one of the big problems with the Collins class is that they need to air regularly.
Yes.
So that the one thing that a submarine's meant to do, which is have stealth and go under the water, our own Collins class can't do because it's got to constantly go up for air.
And also, it can't turn left. That was the other.
I mean, imagine it'd be so good for relationships, wouldn't it? Just going, you know what? I'm going to be out of action for 3 months.
Yes.
I'm under the water.
Yes.
You can't possibly contact me. I'm on a stealth mission.
Sorry, I can't help you with your homework this afternoon.
Yeah.
I've got to go on the submarine for 3 months. Yeah.
I'm somewhere under the water. I can't tell you where I am.
Yeah.
So there you go. So our impending war the only problem is, Charles, if you put the two things together, we are going to get these new submarines from America after we've already lost the war with China that's going to start within 3 years.
Oh, so when do the Virginia class ones come along?
I'm not sure when the Virginia class is coming, but given that it's Australia trying to acquire a submarine, you can guarantee that it will be later than we need them.
Yeah. I think Paul Keating said that it was like throwing toothpicks at a wood pile, our contribution to the Taiwan Straits.
The defence of the Pacific.
Yeah, yeah.
The conclusion of all of this is we really had better not piss off China.
Yeah, well, as I said, I for one welcome our new overlords. I'm happy
The
with
thing
that.
is, you can't tell me there's any way that either of these countries can build submarines without using Chinese parts.
But also, won't the Chinese arrive in Australia and then realise what massive racists we are, and then just want to leave.
Why would they? This is the thing that has never been answered. Why would China want Australia? And if they did, they'd already have it.
Well, isn't it for the iron ore? Why don't we just let them have the Pilbara or something like that? They can have Twiggy Forrest and Gina Reinhardt and Clive Palmer, and we get the rest of Australia. That's a deal.
I think
got a good deal.
I think that deal's probably being made as we speak. Petty Hart's just leading the negotiations. All right.
Our gear is from Road. We're part of the Iconoclast network. Catch you tomorrow.
Unless the war comes before then.